I'll just put it straight up. The second that a girl can post some kind of thirst trap on social media and not have a bunch of guys in the comments simping for her, or she can go work as a bikini barista and not get hundreds of dollars and all this Amazon wishlist stuff for free, this problem will end overnight. When you hear people talking about average men not being able to be in relationships, get women, women only want the top whatever percent of men, it's because they've been so spoiled over the past few years, combined with, of course, many other things. Like, for example, in media, movies, TV, they make the husband look like a buffoon. I remember a lot of my favorite movies, classics when I was a kid, TV shows. The husband is literally brain dead without the wife or the woman's help or there to comfort them or lead the way. So there's been programming, but us as men need to take responsibility. And that's, again, what this channel's about. Men taking accountability, men improving themselves, and men being honest with themselves. Because we need to acknowledge that this is a problem that we are partly at fault for. And it's not just even men that are single acting out of desperation. I've seen plenty of guys in relationships who are still acting as a simp, who are still acting passive, who are still falling weak. For example, I've known people in relationships where the women will disrespect them on a daily basis. They'll break boundaries, break promises, break their trust, and the guy will still be trying to earn their love and think they can fix things. And it happens time and time and time again until they get cheated on, or there's really a wake-up call. They finally wake up, and then they're man enough to finally end the relationship. So that's something, again, I've seen time and time again. But when it comes to men and this really this problem, the biggest thing that we can do is find our own purpose and our own mission and our own grind and not be so desperate in the first place. You can even tie it as far back as the Garden of Eden. Adam fell passive for Eve, and then you look what happens. So this is something that's been going on for a long time. We've seen the remnants and the punishments of this kind of behavior. I just find it ridiculous how, which, by the way, social media is a waste of time in the first place, but a lot of these Instagram posts I see with these female influencers, which they're not really influencers. You see a lot of these girls in the gym, they're bending over in front of the camera, they're doing all these kind of exercise with certain camera angles. They know what they're doing. They know the kind of market they're trying to fish for. But my point being is that it's not even just on social media. It's also on YouTube. I've seen a lot of these female grifting accounts talking about men's issues or men's interest. Meanwhile, they're half naked, or even I saw a video the other day where a girl was straight up fully naked in the video. The camera was just at the collarbone above, but you have guys in the comments just simping for them, giving them all this praise, treating them like they're this top echelon female, when in reality, guys, you're just making a fool of yourself. They don't need your attention and validation to have a channel. They should be able to do something that's actually productive, do something that's actually relevant to an interest that they have, not trying to market towards men who are desperate. I even seen this one channel, actually a few channels like this, where girls on the screen making a video with the title about how they hate their life and this and that, and they're really crying in the video, and they're getting, even in some cases, thousands of dollars a month in donations and stuff like that. Now, a man could never get on camera and do that, nor should they. They'd be making a complete fool of themselves. It'd be extremely emasculating to behave that way. But I can't believe that you have women who are playing these dudes. It'd be different if it was genuine. You have women who are playing these dudes, getting money out of them. Meanwhile, most men have their own issues and their own problems to worry about. They don't have time to be someone else's emotional sponge or someone else's financial resource. Like, there's a restaurant I go to with a few friends of mine every now and then, maybe once every week or 2 weeks. And just some of the stuff we've heard from the waitresses is just absolutely insane. We're talking ridiculous amounts in tips, even stuff outside of restaurant hours, giving them money on Cash App and all this kind of stuff. I've seen some of these girls on their Instagram profiles having their Cash App link in their bio. I mean, that is so trashy to me, bro. Like, that is next level, like, trashy behavior. But again, you have men who keep falling for it. It's like any scam. If there weren't people who were falling for it, it wouldn't exist. Like, for example, The other day I was out, which not to segue into something too different, but the other day I was out door dashing. This is actually a few nights ago, and in the middle of an order, I got a phone call, and it said with the caller ID, it said DoorDash support. I'd taken the phone call, and it was someone claiming to be, of course, a DoorDash support agent representative, and they were trying to get me to give them my login information. They were saying that someone reported that you had an intoxicated female in the passenger seat making deliveries. Is it just you in the car? I said, yeah, it's just me in the car. I said, okay, you need to pull over, you need to cancel your order, and you need to give me this information, whatever. And I just hung up the phone on, but I'm thinking, it's like, my point being, though, is that these kind of scams, these kind of ways to play people, these kind of lucrative behaviors, if people weren't falling for them, they wouldn't exist in the first place. And that's exactly why I'm saying that. If men were to stand up, if men were to put the foot down, if men were to ultimately stop endorsing this behavior, it would end overnight because they'd have no funnel for this. They'd have to go get a real job. They have to go find something productive with what they're doing. That's even what I've thought to myself. Like, you see these girls making this kind of money. Even I've seen some upwards of like $700 a day. And by the way, these aren't your popular Instagram models with their certain profiles in their bio. This is like girls that just work at restaurants, bro. Like bikini baristas and girls in your local Buffalo Wild Wings or something like that, getting hundreds and hundreds, even upwards of $1,000 a day. So I thought to myself, I'm like, they're young, they got their whole life ahead of them. Why don't they go become a nurse or a dentist or go to college or something that has a little bit more dignity? But they have no incentive to do that because they can just literally do nothing and just get all this money from, again, hardworking men. A lot of men I've seen given this kind of money are people who are not financially abundant. They're people who are living, in some cases, paycheck to paycheck. And again, bro, this is why men have to wake up. They have to wake up and stop endorsing, stop giving into this behavior. Now, I had an interesting comment on one of my previous videos as to why there are more male simps than female simps, disproportionately more. And again, I just think it shows the emasculation of most, I shouldn't say most, but the emasculation of a lot of men nowadays, where a lot of men lack self-respect. Because if a man had self-respect, if they had dignity, they would not act in that kind of behavior. That's just the truth, guys. They wouldn't go out of the way to do that. What kind of self-respecting man would do that? And ultimately, this is really just a video about self-respect, because I think men need to get their self-respect back. Again, my audience is, like 97% male last time I checked, so there's no point in me harping and bashing the women if they're not going to be seeing this video. The best thing I can do is just tell the men, like, hey, wake up. And I imagine if you guys are watching this kind of content, you probably don't fall into that pool. But if you have a friend that you see doing that, or a family member you see doing that, I would just respectfully tell them, like, dude, this is not acceptable behavior, dude. Like, this is not respectable at all. Even I've known some people with family members who are older that use Facebook, because I think a lot of old people have Facebook. That one's been around for a while. A lot of them, they don't have Instagram and Snapchat, of course. But seeing that a lot of these guys have fallen for these, again, Facebook scams of people posing to be women, attractive women, or straight up AI enhanced pictures of women, and messaging the guys like they're going to marry them, or they're going to go on dates with them, or they want to date them. And these guys, again, being desperate, fall for this, thinking that they have some kind of online girlfriend. And I've seen, in some cases, guys giving, even I had a friend who, one of his uncles, he had a lot of money he got because, unfortunately, his wife at the time had a disease, and they got a lot of money in insurance and stuff. But he was giving that money to these online Facebook scammers. He was giving this money to these accounts. The wife had found out and divorced him over it. I guess it is a form of cheating, right? But I think, how can someone be so desperate to fall for this kind of stuff? And of course, I understand that older people, for the most part, especially maybe above the age of 60, are more naive when it comes to technology. They didn't grow up like Gen Z and millennials with seeing the rise of smartphones and social media and internet and all this kind of stuff, and AI. So I understand that they're more susceptible to fall for these kind of things. But my point being, guys, if you have a family member or someone doing that kind of stuff, you gotta really tell him to like wake up and just try to help him, because I've known multiple people that fall for these kind of scams. Not people I'm related to directly, but people through friends and stuff who know them, whether they're friends with them or family members with them, and they're just giving out money, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars left and right. I knew someone even where he was going to drive 4 hours away to a different state thinking he was going to go meet this girl to marry her. I mean, it's crazy, guys. And even these other accounts you see with some that I probably can't name in this video, but with the Instagram bios leading to them, those messages that these guys are getting are literally from dudes managing their accounts. It's bad enough they're doing it in the first place, whether it's the woman or not, but it's literally a big scam. That's what this is. It's a big charade. It's a big scam. And that's, again, why I'm so big on calling out that kind of behavior, because I literally see men losing their self-respect, losing their dignity, falling for this stuff over and over and over and over again. And again, guys, we can talk about entitlement and female behavior and this and that, which there's obviously, like I mentioned, media making husbands look like buffoons, all this kind of stuff. But I truly believe that if men were to stand up and put the foot down when it comes to this kind of simping behavior, you'd see this problem change overnight, because they wouldn't have a funnel for that kind of money. They wouldn't have a way to play dudes like that. They wouldn't. And anyone who's out there thinking that commenting under a girl's Instagram reel or DMing them 50 different times when you've been left on red ignored is going to get you later, is going to get you interacting with them, you're very mistaken. They're using that as validation and attention. They're using that as narcissistic supply. Each time that happens, they get a little bit more and more and more and more entitled. Like, the way I imagine it is, imagine a kid, right, who was relatively sheltered but very spoiled, had very rich parents, bought him the newest Nintendo consoles, bought him the newest figurines, bought him the newest iPads, computers, all this kind of stuff. Didn't have to work a day in their life. When they go out in the real world, they're going to expect, in many cases, things to be handed to them, because they've been spoiled their whole lives. They've been programmed to be entitled. And that's what I see a lot of times now with a lot of these women on these apps and stuff like that. Even dating apps. I myself don't use them. I think they're a complete waste of time. But even I've heard a lot on dating apps. You could take an average 35-year-old looking or 35-year-old female and make an account, and within a day or so, they'll have just a bunch of DMs and messages and stuff like that. Whereas if you take an average man, it won't be the same at all. Probably not even close. They might not even get a message at all in some cases. It's just absolutely wild to me. I mean, it's just something where it comes down to men just getting their self-respect back and having purpose. Because also a lot of guys I see fall for this kind of stuff, they don't have really a lot of hobbies. They don't have a lot of things that they focus on to take their mind off that kind of stuff. And you shouldn't have to bend over backwards and walk on eggshells, do all this kind of stuff. And again, that's even why I've made previous videos about how I feel about the kind of look maxing stuff, where I agree that men should be the best version of themselves. And even in a previous video I talked about, I did want to mention this, that when it comes to the gym, being lean is really more important than any amount of muscle mass. That's just the truth, guys, if we're going to talk about what's considered typically, attractive. My point being is that you shouldn't be doing the looks maxing just for women. You shouldn't. You shouldn't be doing it just to get female attention. And to an extent, you should also be comfortable in your own skin. I mean, there's obviously some things that genetically we don't have control over. We can do our best to improve those things, of course. But not everything in a man's life should have to revolve around female attention or this kind of stuff. That's something that I just think is kind of silly to me. It seems like something that a man would do if they don't really have many hobbies or purpose, or maybe they just have too much free time on their hands, to be honest. Because again, I've heard also many women and people who are very educated when it comes to dating dynamics talk about this kind of stuff, where if a man focuses on their mission and purpose, they're going to be more desirable than the guy who's bending over backwards doing all these crazy things for female attention, because they're not going to be seen as desperate. They're going to be seen as someone who is confident in themselves. They don't need to conform to some crazy standard or whatnot. So and that totally makes sense to me. But guys, we just need to do better. And like I said, if you have a brother or a friend or even an acquaintance who's doing this kind of stuff, who's falling for this kind of stuff, I would just tell them, the best of your ability, just wake up, man. Don't contribute to this problem. Don't make a fool of yourself, because it's not even about the women. It's about men having their own dignity and self-respect. It's like, don't make a fool of yourself, dude. Don't embarrass yourself. Because again, I've seen women who, they will literally gossip to their female friends or even other dudes, and even dudes in some cases, just talking crap about the guy. Like I knew someone who, he was messaging this girl nonstop, and she was literally just laughing at him about how desperate he was, about how he thought he had any chance with her. So it's like, dude, you guys need to understand, this is not at all going to benefit you in any way. And it's just going to be a detriment to people as a whole, because you have average men, good men, which ultimately is a big part of who I geared this channel towards, who just are struggling with many things. And then you have this kind of stuff where you have average women who are in their same league, and in some cases below their league without makeup, thinking that they're way above these dudes. And the simping is a big part of the problem. It really is. It's bad enough we had the indoctrination with the schools. If you were Gen Z or millennial, you had, even as far back as I can think, even back in the 90s, you had stuff about how the world doesn't need men, this kind of stuff, this kind of propaganda about being Miss Independent, about this kind of stuff, about getting your own bag and stuff like that. But people seem to forget that a man's protection is something that you're not going to have if you don't have men in your life. That's the truth. You have all this programming from the media, from music, from all different kinds of stuff, when all the simping is doing is contributing to the problem, and in pretty much most cases making it way worse. So just my thoughts on this, guys. This is a video I plan on making. It's like 7 in the morning, so I'm a bit tired. But it just comes down to self-respect. It comes down to men knowing that you should focus on your own mission and purpose, not make a fool of yourself, and not sacrifice your dignity for something that's just complete nonsense that they're going to make a mockery out of it anyway. So, thank you for viewing, guys. Appreciate it.